right, so our last little bit of functions in this section is to take this idea of functions and apply it to some things that we've actually already worked with. So these first ones are to work with our cost, our revenue, and profit. So that's going way back to what we started off this semester as. This time, we're just going to call it a cost function, a revenue function, and a profit function. So we'll see those written in function notation. C of X, R of X, and P of X. Instead of before, I just called them C, R, and P because we hadn't introduced what a function was yet. Now we know what it is, so I can write it the proper way, which is to write it as a function. So if you remember back, the cost is equal to the fixed cost plus the variable cost. So going into my example up at the top, the fixed costs are $120,000. So I'm going to plug in 120 for the fixed. And the variable, it cost 4 cents or 0.04. I'll put 0.04. The variable is the one that also has a variable with it. And that's because it says each can. So that's for every can we produce. I don't know how many cans we might produce. We could produce 1 or we could produce 1,000. So I am going to put an X there. So the cost is that function right there. All right, the revenue is how much I can sell a can for. Revenue is how much money I make. So I can sell a can for 6 cents a can. So it's going to be 0.06x. Remember, for every can, if it says a can, for each can, for every can, that's my variable. I'm going to put an X there. Sometimes we actually saw this for, it said 6 cents for every 1,000 cans. So we would have to put 1,000x. In some of our examples, this one was just plain a can, so just 1x. And then last, we have our profit. So remember back that the profit is the revenue minus the cost. And we need to put cost in those parentheses. That was really important, and we practiced that a while ago. So P of X is equal to my revenue minus my cost function, 0.04. In those parentheses, I am going to keep going. Don't stop there. So I'm going to distribute that negative. And then my last step is to combine my like terms. I've got 2 x's there. And I'm going to write it maybe off to the side here. P of X is going to be equal to 0.02x minus $120,000. The order doesn't matter. You can start with the negative 120,000 if you want. You do have to have the negative sign in front of that 120 though. All right, last example from this section. I want you guys to give it a try. I've given you the function. I've asked for you to find f of 15 and then write that sentence. So kind of up here like we did in the last video, when you write a sentence, you need to use both the number 15 and the answer that you get. So go ahead and practice it. I know people hate practicing writing the sentences, but I think it's a good idea to practice that before you jump into the homework. That way you know if you have any questions you need to ask, and you get a little bit of practice before you get one for a grade. So go ahead and try both getting the answer and writing that sentence. Right, hopefully you're back from the pause. If you haven't done it, last chance, click pause and try it. All right, I'm going to plug in 15 everywhere I see X. I typed that in my calculator, and that gave me 43. So f of 15 is 43. So that's the first part. That's the part everybody likes to do. The part people don't like to do is to write the sentence there of what it means. So what does 15 mean? Well, coming up here, and I'll be honest, a lot of people don't like these with the years, x equals 10 means 2010. It's been a while since we did this. Remember, we need to get to x equals 0. So I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. So x equals 0 is the year 2000. That means that 15 is 2015, because x equals 0 is 2000. So 15 would be 2015, adding 15 to 2000. So in 2015, because it said x was a year, the closing stock price for Microsoft was $43. I know those years can be a little tricky. Remember, our base is to always get back to x equals 0. I started at 10. To get 10 to turn into 0, we subtracted. I subtracted it from the x, and I subtracted it from the year. So that gets me back to the base of x equals 0 means 2000. Using that, I'll know how to add or subtract to get to what year I'm dealing with. And since I was dealing with 15, 2000 plus 15 was 2015. You can look back at some of the older videos. There are a couple of other ones that address those years. You also are more than welcome to email me at all about questions about those years.